Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. Hope you are all well and safe and having a great day. I've been sketching in Krita using the Sumi inking brush. Really nice brush, really organic, but I've done this sketch a little bit different to how I normally sketch with pen and ink. Usually I do a lot of hatching to get in the shades and the tones, but this time I've used value washes or coloured inks that are sort of lighter in tone, ranging from this very light colour for the sky to mid-tones, slightly darker tones, right the way through to black. So much different way of getting in the lights and shades than I normally do when I'm sketching with pen and ink. So let's just get straight into the video. So here we are in Krita, and if you're wondering what all the layers are that I am hovering over, that is a smart canvas that you can download off the Krita website. I will put links in the description to videos that I've made on them, and also to the Krita official video if you haven't seen them before. But basically it's a really easy way of getting a nice texture on your background, and I'm using the watercolor one for this. Even though this isn't a watercolor painting, this is a pen and ink, so it just shows you that you can use these backgrounds for different purposes, for what they're actually intended for. And I was messing around looking at pen and ink brushes because I do like working in pen and ink, and I found the D bracket ink -8 Sumi brush, ink brush, and I really like it because with very light pressure you can get these little wispy lines like I'm putting in now, and you can also, by applying more pressure, get thicker lines like that, and you can fill in really quick. So a while ago I did a pen and ink with lots of hatching in it. This isn't going to be like that one. That was of a building or a shop front. This one, we're not going to see much hatching as such. This is more, I'm going to use the brush strokes more to follow the terrain of the land, to sort of give you an impression of shapes and the flat sides of shapes and rocks and things like that. So less hatching, but more using directional strokes. And I'm only going to use this one brush. The whole of this pen and ink is going to be done with this one Sumi brush, and I think it's pronounced Sumi. People have pointed out to me in the past when I did a similar video using Procreate and using the Sumi brushes, people did tell me how to pronounce it. So if I've got it wrong, I'm really sorry. I'm dead forgetful and stuff like that. I sort of, it's not that I'm not listening or paying attention. I've genuinely got a really bad memory. So I try lots of things with this. I get really experimental. So you're going to see lots of my thought processes. I toyed with the idea of editing them out and just giving you this really slick pen and ink sketch, and I thought, no, I'll let you see how I sometimes try something. I'll go quite a long way down a path and then retrace my steps and undo it because I don't like it. And I think that's important, because I think you shouldn't be scared to scrap something that you've done and just step back a bit. And you don't have to like scrap the old drawing. You can just scrap stages of it. I thought about putting colour in this, so you'll see what happens with that. And so yeah, you're going to see the old process. I'm going to be using Alpha Lock and see how I get on with that. But at the minute, I'm putting in this little rock face. It's not a huge rock face. If you look at the photo very close, next to that sort of small distant tree, you'll see a person standing on the top of the rocks. So that gives you an idea of the scale. It's not huge. It's a place called Beacon Hill in Leicestershire. And Special K and I went there at the weekend. Probably won't be able to go again for some time because everything in the UK seems to be getting locked down. We've got 3 tiers of lockdown now. At the minute we're in the first tier, which is cool, but everything's changing daily. So I can imagine that a couple of weeks we won't be able to go here again for a while. So anyway, it was beautiful. It was obviously we're in the autumn months now, and although that tree is fairly green, there was lots of golden colours around. Really, really beautiful walk, and I got lots of ideas for painting. So you can see this brush, it's really it's got this lovely organic nature to it, where you can just squiggle away and get thick lines and thin lines. It feels really, really nice. By the way, I'm still using my Cintiq like an Intuos Pro. That's why I don't record my drawing strokes and put a little sort of thumbnail video in at the moment, because I think it would just be dead confusing, because you've got one screen with where the painting's happening, and the other screen which has got all sorts of things on it. Usually my video recording software is on there, but I'm sort of drawing over the video recording app, so it's not conducive to really being very educational to include that. So that's why I'm not putting the thumbnail in of me painting, because I'm really enjoying working with the Cintiq like an Intuos. Nice little wispy lines there, this rock face. So at this point I'm just sort of drawing away all on one layer at this point, but I do get into using lots of layers at some point. But right now I've just got this sort of one black layer, and I've got no intentions of doing anything other than a black and white sketch. See there, I've just flipped the stylus over. I'm using it as an eraser to lift out, so there's no white ink going on this. If you see white appearing, I've flipped the stylus over and I'm using it as an eraser, so I can lift out shapes out of the black ink marks that I put on, which is awesome, because you can't do that with traditional methods. Just experimenting a little bit there and just sort of chopping through lines and seeing what sort of effects I get. So I'm starting to get into this experimental stage now. I really do like pen and inks where you get these big black solid areas, so don't be afraid to do that and just cover. I mean, what have we got, that nearly a third of the paper, or a quarter, sorry, not a third, quarter of the page just covered in black ink in that big blob. Just squiggling in. It really is a scribbler. This is why I think I chose the name Steve the Scribbler and on my Instagram channel, because I was doing a lot of sort of scribbly little drawings where I just sort of doodle away. If you haven't checked out the Instagram channel, it's kind of changed quite recently, and it's well worth having a look at, because you won't catch a lot of digital artwork on there at the minute. I do put some up, but I'm spending a lot of time doing traditional pastels. And if you want to see some of my traditional paintings, they're all on Instagram. I put them all up there. So there's quite a lot of stuff that you'll never see on this channel appearing on Instagram. So please go and check that out and give me a like as well. That would be nice. I think this is I was putting this black on, and while I was doing it, I knew that it's not balanced. It doesn't quite look right. I love the big thick black area at the top left, but it wasn't working at the bottom left. So you can see I'm using the eraser to draw in some grasses and just breaking up that big black line. So I'm doing some negative painting, and that just totally transforms it for me. So really happy with that, the way that came out, and that's a nice technique to be using. I'd love to see you all have a go at this and post your paintings, not necessarily this picture, but a pen and ink. And it doesn't have to be in Krita, it can be in, you know, Procreate or any app. Most apps these days have got nice pen and ink brushes. And post your results in Digital Easel. That'd be great. I'd love to see what other people could come up with for this idea. There we are, sort of popping in this rock. I'm not really happy at this stage with this little rock. It's sort of in the middle of the picture, but I'll stick with it for now. Doing a bit of that negative painting. The odd thing about this brush is, though, it does. I don't know if it's the way I've got Krita set up. Look at the massive footprint of the brush you've got, and yet I suppose that's for if I sort of press on hard and get the thickest thing. So it was kind of a bit hit and miss to where the actual line was going to appear. I suppose it appears in the middle. You see there, I've put in some horizontal lines. They're not exactly horizontal, but they follow the lay of the land, and that's what I was talking about. So instead of hatching, I'm using these lines to contour the ground. So I do now create another layer, and I'm thinking that's my black and white ink drawing, but I'd like to do some colouring on it. Well, shading really, not colouring. I'm just using neutral greys, and I don't know what I've done wrong there. I've got, oh, I know, I've got, looks like I've got an alpha lock on something on the layer that I'm working on. So I'm just sorting the layers out. Basically what I'm doing, I'm creating a layer and putting it underneath the black layer so I can put on this grey sky. I'm still using this Sumi-e brush, and I just want to do it in the same style with these lines. Look, I don't want any sort of soft edges or anything like that. I'm just putting in this sky of a very light grey, and really liking. As soon as I did that, I thought, yeah, I like that. I'm really liking that. But I'm thinking that the shadow under the tree needs to be a little bit darker, so I just make the grey about 50% grey, and just put that in underneath the tree and fill in some of them sky holes as well. So this is on a layer underneath the black ink layer, and I stay on that layer, I think, yeah, and I start thinking about putting in some other shadows and just generally colouring in this scene just with neutral greys to start with. And I want to kind of keep that rock face that's directly below the small tree. I want to keep that white if I can, as the sunlight catching it. It's not really, but I just fancied it sort of standing out a bit. I guess that's what could be where your eyes could rest. Notice I've changed the colour, or the, sorry, not the colour, the value of the shade that I'm working with now. I made it a little bit lighter. Cutting in reasonably neatly under that tree. And I quite like that, but you know what I'm like. It doesn't stay like that. I have to get a little bit more adventurous. Obviously, I want some more colour in the foreground. Sorry, tonal value in the foreground. There we go. Just a bit. I didn't change the size of the brush, you know, at all. I kept the same size. I didn't make any adjustments to this brush whatsoever throughout the old drawing. I just did it all with pressure. Light pressure for thin lines, heavy pressure for thick lines. Now that, to me now, that could be finished. Yeah, I could leave that as a finished piece. But I don't, of course. I'm into alpha lock now, so I'm going into the black layer, and I start to mess about, and I think, what would happen if I put the alpha lock on? That, if you don't know what alpha lock is, basically that means that I choose a layer like the black ink layer, and I lock every pixel that hasn't got any ink on it, so I can only paint where I've already got ink, so I can only paint over the black ink. So it's a great way of changing colours of something once you've already painted it. And you can see I'm experimenting. I tried putting a white, I'm putting a white outline, and because it's alpha lock, I'm thinking perhaps I should take advantage of the fact that it's alpha lock, and I can just sort of scribble on, and it ain't going to go over the edge, and I get this sort of splashed ink thing. And then I'm thinking, nah, that's not working for me. Let's try it sort of just a little bit mid-grey. Let's see what that looks like. And I start doing that. There we go. So I've sort of got rid of all of the white. And I'm just sort of thinking about, maybe I could just paint in a few branches and twigs like this, and tree trunks and things. Maybe that would look cool. And the only reason I'm doing it on the alpha lock is because it means I can be really loose and not go over that black line. And then I go in with some lighter. So I'm just totally on an adventure of experimenting, knowing pretty well at this point that whatever I'm doing is going to get scrapped because I don't like it. But it's just, you know, a fun thing. I'm having a little bit of fun and just trying stuff out. So, you know, this one way you can make progress is by experimenting, and don't be scared to just try something different. You can see there, look, I'm not happy with it, so it's all got to go. Let's just get back to the black. And I just find it easier to just sort of shade it in rather than use the undo keys. So I've got back to the original black, and then I think, right, I'm just going to try painting in a few branches. Maybe that'll look cool, and I'll leave the leaves. I won't mess about with the leaves. I'll just put in a few branches like that. And I could, strictly speaking, this didn't need to be on the alpha lock. I could have put it on a separate layer, but I didn't. I was still sort of experimenting with the alpha lock, and then I turned the alpha lock off there. If you want to, if you don't know how to switch alpha lock on and off, basically you go to the layer, and on the right hand side of the layer you'll see those little 4 squares that make a cross. By selecting that, you can toggle the alpha lock on and off. Shuffling layers around now to make sure that they're all under the actual pen and ink layer, because I want to just sort of scribble over them but not paint over the black ink layer, because that's obviously got to stay on the top. And clearly I'm not liking what I did there, so let's get that back to something else. Then I'm feeling that we need a bit more shadow under this tree. So I think I've created a new layer. This is because I'm experimenting. I really don't want to mess up what I've already got. So I do create new layers when I get into experimental mode. That way, if I really don't like what I've got, I can just hit the delete key and the layer's gone. As simple as that. And it's a nice way to experiment, because I really do like the original ink drawing, but I'm just seeing if I can take it any further with messing about with other techniques. I'm just trying different areas of you know, putting darks and lights in, seeing how they work. Sort of painting a dark edge over that bracken. Then I think, that under that tree, it is a bit dark, and I do think it was a little bit dark, and at the minute I'm quite liking, oh, maybe not. I do like that lighter bit that I put in to the left underside of the tree, and there we go, put it in the right side as I look at it, and it just picks those branches out, and then I go onto the layer underneath and flick in a few more branches, and I don't know if that's too much. Is it getting too busy? Too messy? I'm thinking maybe it is. I don't know. Then I think, ooh, should we put some colour in it? Is this the bit where, yeah, I'm just wondering about maybe a little bit of colour. Let's just, no, not there yet. That's coming. Just putting a little bit of shadow on those grassy clumps. And then some nice thick lines in the foreground. Quite liking that. I think the little clump of bushes that are not the clump of rocks, sorry, that are just below and to the left of the small tree, they need some attention. They're not looking very good at the minute, so I'm gonna have to do something about that. But I like these sort of wispy little lines that I'm putting in now. I think that really gives some sort of form to the ground. But the tree's looking messy. I'm not too happy with that. When I did this drawing, by the way, because I'm doing a voiceover a few days later, I thought I'd got COVID, you know. I was going to do a painting, but I was aching. I got a bit of a sore throat. I thought, I don't want to stand. I don't want to be standing up all day. Luckily enough, though, it only lasted a day. I think I got a bit of an head cold, really. So I thought I'd do this instead. Do a nice little ink drawing so I can have a sit down, because there we go. Ooh, I'm glad I've got rid of them. So this is what I'm talking about, where you try something out and you live with it a little bit, and then you think, you know what, I don't want that. That's got to go. And that was done on the alpha layer, so all I had to do was get the black ink and scribble over that. And I think that tree looks way better just as that solid black mass, without those other branches and tree trunks and things popped in. Yeah, so anyway, back to the COVID thing. I'm all right now. I feel okay. It's about 3-4 days later. Maybe not 3. Yeah, 3 days. I think 3 days ago. And so I thought I'd do the voiceover. Now, you see, I knew that this rock wasn't quite right. So I've just gone onto the black layer, toggled off the alpha lock only, and erased some of those lines. And now I can go back in and just draw them in again. And because they were a little bit messy, and it looks like they're messy, so I'm just putting back in what I'd taken out. But I don't. I put in what I think's much clearer, defined set of rocks. There we go. Yeah, that's better. That's it. There was people all over this place, but it was big enough for us all to, you know, socially distance. And it was great when we walked on the footpaths. People would step aside into a sort of a, you know, a natural break where you could get past without getting closer than 6 foot, and everybody saying thanks a lot and being really nice. It was almost everybody was out there and wanting to forget about the COVID thing, and they were all behaving. Nobody got masks on because we were all out in the open, I guess, but it was all well distanced. And when we actually got off the path into this place, you know, there's nobody anywhere near you at all. So yeah, it was a really lovely, stress-free walk or day out, really. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. So I'm enjoying the detail that I've got in this, or the amount of lines and scribbles that I've created within this drawing. And you can see there's no cross-hatching at all, really. Totally different technique than I used for the last pen and ink I did. So I just wanted to share it with you so you can see that there's lots of different ways of using pen and ink. This is definitely one of my favorite ways, because you can do something really quick. I mean, you think about the original drawing before I started to experiment, took about 15 minutes, and then the rest of the time I've just been experimenting and trying out different things, really, and testing stuff out. And then it all gets logged, and then I can use that and think when I'm doing something else in the future, oh yeah, that really worked when I put that alpha lock on, or when I did that negative bit of painting, which is what I'm doing now. Look, I'm sort of chiseling out a few more branches into that black mass. Don't know as if I like them. Doesn't appear as though I did. But, you know, it's all experimenting. Yeah. I think I'm going to try again. I think what I did, I blacked in a bit more area so I could get that chisel in a little bit lower down, perhaps. There we go. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Now, I'm wondering what I'm going to do with that little bit. Yeah, that's cool. I cannot remember if I kept this in or not, so I'm interested. I can't wait to see if I kept that in or took it out. I'm not a big fan of it at the minute, I have to say. I'm not liking it. I've said before that it's really weird when I watch these drawings back, and I wonder what was going through my head when I was doing certain things. That looks all right. I quite like that. If I leave it like that, I'll be happy. I think at this point, I mean, must be getting very close to the end. I'm just sort of fiddling a bit, and I think I decide that I need a few little clumps and stones and things. Oh no! Before that, here we go. I'm thinking, shall I do some colour? And let's get some colour picked. There we go. And it doesn't take me long before I think, you know what? I mean, it probably could have worked. I could have probably done something with the colour, but I think probably because I'd worked on the drawing so long, I thought, you know what? I'm not really feeling this. That's a good example of how the alpha lot works, so if you've not seen it before. So I just step back on that one. And just paint it back to black. And I didn't do any more on the colour. I just thought, that'll do it. But can't resist a little bit more detail, perhaps. A few more lines. Why though? Why? I mean, to me, that's a perfectly good drawing. It doesn't need anything else. I must have been in the zone. Look, you see me hovering all over the drawing, thinking, where can I put a line? Where can I put a line? Where can I add something else? Just sort of skitting all over the place. Now that's interesting. I'm wondering if I'm going to do. I obviously wanted a darker shadow under the tree, but I'm not so sure as if I leave it like that. It kind of does work, but I don't remember it being that dark. I think everything I'm doing now is like, it's unnecessary. I'm not suggesting it's actually spoiling the drawing, but I don't think it's adding to it either. I think I should have stopped, but I'm gonna let it play out. I'm not gonna cut it off. I want you to see. There we go. See how it's easy it is to overdo it and keep going and putting things in, and that's interesting. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I quite like that. I wonder if I'll leave that in. Interesting. I think I took that out because I'd got the shadows the wrong side, and there's one of them little rocks there that I'd got the shadow the wrong side as well. Yeah, you gotta think about that all the time. The way your shadows are, it's so easy to fall into that trap and put them on the wrong side. I'm just sort of winding it up now. I really have got to the end, so I'll create one more layer just to sign it, get my name on. I thought I was never going to stop with that one, so that is it. That is my pen and ink sketch using the Sumi inking brush in Krita. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, a big thumbs up as always, much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I've got loads of videos like this, and I'd love to be sharing them with you. Don't forget, everybody, stay safe and stay sane, because times are a little bit trying, and keep painting, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.